Hi, I am Aya Antonio, Senior Communications Officer for Asia Pacific of the Break Free from Plastic movement. Today, I will present an overview of what we refer to as the Global Plastics Treaty and the processes involved in developing this international agreement, and how you, as a communicator, can take part in ensuring that the Plastics Treaty would be as robust and as ambitious as it can be. Since 2022, more than 170 countries have been negotiating the world's first ever global plastics pollution treaty. The fifth and last scheduled round of negotiations will take place from November 25th to December 1st, 2024, in Busan, South Korea. It is a once in a lifetime opportunity to address plastic pollution from extraction of fossil fuels, global production of plastics, use, and disposal. Currently, over 170 member states of the UN are negotiating this international legally binding instrument, which we hope to eventually see translate into national and local policies. It is a crucial moment where there is a huge opportunity to spark the systemic change towards ending plastic pollution. But as countries finalize the terms of the treaty, it could be easily diluted and corrupted. And so, together, we need to push nations to pass an ambitious and effective treaty. So, how did we get here? Groups around the world have been working towards such legally binding instrument since 2017. And in March 2022, at the resumed fifth session of the UN Environment Assembly, or UNEA 5.2, a historic resolution was adopted to develop an international legally binding instrument on plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. The resolution 5.14 requested the executive director of the UN Environment Program, or UNEP, to convene an Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee, or INC, which is tasked to develop the instrument, which is to be based on a comprehensive approach that addresses the full life cycle of plastic, including its production, design, and disposal. And that means it's beyond just waste management issue. The INC, or the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee, is composed of the member states of the UN that will be negotiating the treaty. The INC negotiations started in November 2022, and in 2023, INC 2 was held in Paris and INC 3 was held in Nairobi. In early 2024, INC 4 was held in Ottawa, and the final round of negotiations is set to happen in November 2024 in Busan, South Korea. So let us understand the UN negotiation process. Negotiations are for the negotiators, meaning the member states of the UN. Observers, the civil society organizations, has access, meanwhile, they have access to public sessions and meetings. They have access to documents and information. They have the ability to submit or circulate written submissions, and they have the ability to make statements during public meetings when recognized. And observers agree to a code of conduct, meaning demonstrations and assemblies are only permitted with prior approval of the UNEP, and that observers can be removed from the room anytime if they don't follow the code of conduct. Observers can participate in plenary sessions, which are often live streamed. So anyone who can access the internet and can access the live stream, usually on YouTube, can watch the plenary sessions. And then there are also contact groups or breakout sessions, which are smaller groups that are more informal and serve as a space for discussion of treaty text. The negotiations unfold under Chatham House rule, which means that when in a meeting or part thereof, when it is held under the Chatham House rule, participants are free to use the information received, but neither the identity nor the affiliation of the speakers nor that of any other participant may be revealed, meaning nothing should be done to identify either explicitly or implicitly who said what, so we cannot quote them. And for photos, full faces that identify who is in the room breaks the rule. For best practice, only include the back backs of the heads. So when taking pictures, it's usually from the back so that the faces of those in the room are not shown in pictures. Plenaries are open to anyone who registers at an INC, and it includes member states, observers, and the press. And as I said, they're often streamed online. In plenaries, you will see or hear statements from member states and observers, and sometimes also see votes. The content and activity during plenaries can be used in public communications. Just know that as these negotiations unfold, there are also multiple voices around the world, from fisher folks in the Philippines to hawkers in India, waste pickers around the world, young people, indigenous people. Many have been calling for a strong plastics treaty. And there have also been concerns around civil society participation in these negotiations and the presence of industry lobbyists in these negotiations that sometimes even outnumber the scientists and and experts in the room. So what can we do? As countries continue the negotiations, the pressure from civil society will be instrumental in ensuring that the treaty would include measures on reducing global plastic production, which needs to be substantially reduced. Um, it also means ensuring that the treaty should include provisions on reuse, or that the treaty must promote reuse systems over false solutions, and that the chemicals and polymers that are hazardous or are of concern must be fully identified and eliminated, and that we also need a strong, dedicated financial mechanism to facilitate the flow of financial resources from the developed to the developing world. So we encourage you to learn more and amplify helpful statements during the plenaries and talk about what we want to see in the future treaty. These things on your screen. There is also a petition that individuals like you may sign. This petition calls on governments to adopt a strong plastics treaty. There is an accompanying social media toolkit that you can use to share this petition. Ultimately, we need a strong and effective global plastics treaty that can end the age of plastics. We invite you to learn more about plastic pollution and explore ways on how you can maximize your skills and knowledge to contribute in the fight to end global plastic pollution that harms people and the planet. Feel free to ask questions and start conversations. Thank you.